This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, council. I call to order the Haslet City Council on Monday, April 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m. A quorum is present. Item 2 is invocation and pledge of allegiance. We're going to do something a little different. First of all, for the pledge of allegiance, then we'll recite the United States Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll recite the pledge to the state of Texas. Almighty Father in heaven, we thank you for your many blessings and your guidance. We pray for your protection and your strong arm with the United States and the rest of the world in our Iran conflict. Protect our soldiers and sailors and Marines, Air Force, all those that are participating. Give our leaders wisdom in the decisions that they make. We ask for your blessing and guidance on the United States, its people, the state of Texas, our county, and our city. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one, indivisible. Item 3, we have no proclamations or presentations, so we'll go to item 4. Citizen participation and comments. Do we have any speakers?
No, sir, we do not.
Is there anyone online?
No, sir.
All right, given there's no speakers, we'll go to item 5, community interest. The City of Haslet general election will be held Saturday, May 2nd, 2026 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the purpose of electing council members place 1, place 3, and place 5. Early voting starts today, April 20th, and will run through the April 28th. Please visit our website to find the election sites. Brush and limb drop-off day will be held May 2nd as well, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on 791 Schoolhouse Road. Item 5C, join us for Memorial Day. Those who served on May 25th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at the Memorial Garden in the community park. Also, all city offices in the Haslet Public Library will be closed Monday, May 25th, 2026 in observance of Memorial Day. Item 6, administrative reports. Council, do you have any questions on the administrative reports?
Mayor Halsey.
Yes.
I had one question on the engineering, the Haslet Parkway. I was wondering if the timeline could be explained for what was in the engineering report.
Timeline on what item?
For Haslet Parkway?
Haslet Parkway.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Let's see, I need to find that one. I brought the small version here and did not bring my glasses. Apologies.
Can you pull up that engineering
Yeah,
report?
if you don't mind, Richard, that'd be. Okay. Oh, it's a little better. It's the second page. Second page under road and drainage. There we go. All right, Ms. Morrow, you're asking me to kind of walk you through.
Yes, just that I was reading it and noticed the kickoff meeting, the punch list, and then
Sure.
just kind of that.
Well, we had a kickoff meeting, and I've got a more detailed report later on if you'd like to. I can give that as item 7E, if you'd like. That got a more extensive walkthrough.
Yes, he'll give
Yeah, that's a-
much more
Yeah, I don't
greater
mind
detail.
waiting.
It'll cover all those things.
Right then, I don't
Yes,
mind
ma'am.
waiting at all.
Okay. Anything
Thank
else
you.
for me while I'm up here? Thank you.
Council, do you have any other questions?
Yes, Mayor Halsey. I had one more. On the court, on 6D, is this a new report format? I noticed it didn't have the traffic citations. Is this how we were going to be getting the report moving forward?
That is a format that our court clerk has put together, and a new format. Yes, it is.
Okay, so if we wanted to get the traffic citations, we could just email and ask specifically for, there used to be a monthly, it would tell us how many were last year versus this year, month to month. That was just one of the things I kept track of.
Traffic citations?
Yes, sir. Or if we could add that to this new report.
Anything else, council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Tucker, sorry I keep harping on this and coming back to it, but yesterday I was driving down Intermodal from Blue Mound down to, I guess, towards Haslet Parkway, and I noticed the gas well on the west side of that road there, the gate was standing wide open. Is that one of the gates that you've had them lock and close in the past?
Well, so it's actually one of our slides on the report I have, but in general, gas wells get an annual inspection, and then everything else is complaint-based. We have had several complaints related to gates being open, so we've asked BVK to kind of increase looking at that. There is a lot of people that come and go out of there, so I think there's at least 5 access points. Specifically, we did get better compliance at the Watercrest one. That was an issue there. Specifically, the one you're talking about, I haven't noticed that one to be open, but
I just saw it yesterday.
like I said, we can keep citing them for that. I will say that will always be a challenge just because of the quantity of people that do have access.
Okay.
But
I'm just concerned for kid safety.
No, we agree. And I guess I can give it the rest of that one as well. As far as I just talked to our gas inspector about it. Like I said, he's doing those annual inspections on the ones we have jurisdiction on, and specifically on the one that's across from the Caraway neighborhood. I know that's been brought up a lot, and we wanted to give you all some sort of update.
It's in the ETJ?
Yeah, so basically, Chris Polidor, our gas oil inspector, he reached out to the Railroad Commission, sent them everything he could visually see. He can't go onto that property, but he sent him what he felt were, issues with vegetation being a fire hazard. He also contacted the Tarrant County Fire Marshal as well. And he said, could you please inspect and look at these? There's concerns on safety and, if it's, safe to operate. And so they said they would inspect, and they actually told us they were inspect last week. And we're supposed to be getting an update. It hasn't come in yet, but
That's awesome.
They seemed like they were absolutely understood our concerns. They didn't give us any idea of what that would look like, but they did say they would report back. So we're expecting something there, and then I'll let him know that we continue to have issues with the gates.
Okay, thank you so much.
James? One
Council, do you have any other questions?
question. Yes.
Yes.
Speaking of the intermodal, the intersection intermodal and Haslet Parkway, when is that ever going to be continued going south?
I was about to ask the same thing.
I know there's talks about it a couple months ago, but I know they've kind of finished the intersection, kind of taken it to stream, kind of brought it, but when's the other access going to be able to go straight?
That might be a best question for the engineer, but I do believe the section that's unfinished there is still waiting for easement acquisition.
Okay.
So it'd be, of course, following that.
Any other questions, council?
Can I just have a follow-up to that?
Say it again.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? He said easement acquisition. Is there something that we need to do from the council level to get that?
No, it is contacting the property owner,
Okay.
and we have that.
So the intersection that he was asking about, Haslet Parkway and Intermodal, is the southbound part of Intermodal going to open at some point?
At
think
some
that's-
point, once that easement is acquired and that construction can be finished.
But we haven't contacted that property owner yet?
We have not been able to get a hold of them. It requires a drive to Weatherford and visiting the store that they own to actually get it. They have historically been difficult to get a hold of.
Okay. But do we have,
It's in work is in progress for that.
okay. But we don't have a hard timeline?
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the reports?
Yeah, not a question, but just notice on the library reports, I see we did have 100 new library cards issued for the month, so that's a good uptick. Just to note, 67% of those are, non-residents, and I think that's what we need to just kind of watch as we move forward, because there's a lot of discussion about improvements to the library, but, we're also tempted with what's the City of Fort Worth Library going to do. So as we kind of march forward with the City of Fort Worth completion on theirs, then we start seeing what may happen with our patrons at ours. So just good information they've put together for the report, so I do appreciate that.
Very good. Anything else? All right then, thank you. Let's move on to item 7, updates on active items, projects, and event recaps. Mr. Tucker, you have a number of them here. And Mr. Tucker will have 7A down to 7F. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this first item you have seen previously. It's part of our annual MS4 permit that we have to have a section that covers public education outreach and involvement and participation. So this is a component of that. And I looked at this, and this is exactly the same presentation you got from last year. It's just a reminder of this program, and there's really nothing new that was worth adding to it. If you'll go to that next slide. So just so everybody understands what an MS4 is, it's the municipal separate storm sewer system. So it refers to basically everything that's for stormwater, everything that collects stormwater and is carried through our town. That's what we're talking about here. And the goal really is to eliminate pollutants into the waterways. And so there really is no other kind of treatment. We don't do any kind of treatment of that. So we have to be pretty proactive on the front end to make sure we're not getting stuff that doesn't belong there, because it's not like it goes to a plant to be treated. It goes straight from here into creeks, river streams, and if we're polluting it on the front end, that's a problem. Next slide, please. So this right here, we have to have a stormwater management plan, has several components that the state approves. So we basically send them a proposal of this is how we plan to administer this project, and they approve it, and we move forward with it. Slide. So basically, these are all what it's broken down to. So like I said, you have these are all components that we have to do certain categories in. Public education and outreach. One opportunity we do besides this one is at our annual National Night Out. We hand out pamphlets and flyers for that. Also, let's see, you have a list of discharge detection and elimination. So we have code enforcement. They monitor and they respond to complaints. We keep up erosion control. Councilmember Watkins, he called specifically about a complaint that affected that, and that's kind of where this program comes into play. We're looking for construction activities, things like that, things that'll cause silt or anything filling up those. So like I said, these are all the components here. Next slide. And again, this is kind of what that consists of. Underground storm drain, you see them laying there. The stormwater collectors right there on the streets, like the curbs, but also open ditches and stuff. That's a picture right off of there, off of, I believe, James Street. So these are all the components that we're talking about here, and it's mainly to keep stuff from running down there. It was common practice years ago to see people putting in yard clippings and blowing them down the storm drain. It's the easy way to get rid of that. That's all the stuff you don't want. Those are components as a part of that program that we have to clean annually. So we'll work through so many of those a year, keeping those clean, but that's really the only method of keeping trash and stuff out of those waterways. And this last year is kind of showing you a mapping of some of that and just really showing you all the collection points, which are in orange, and ultimately how those run together and find their ways into streams. Just trying to give you a visual of that's the stream we're impacting, which is a branch of the Henrietta Creek. And so anything that's coming in that neighborhood down those drains, if it's trash, oil, or anything like that, we're trying to prevent it from reaching those waterways. And I believe that might be the last one. Nope, I got one more. Then as far as for ways to prevent that, these are BMPs, they call them. So when we go to construction sites, we look for things like silt fence. So for example, if you were to go down the drainage project on Schreiber, you will see silt fence at the very end. Collect just in case we have heavy rain, all that silt will hit those silt fences. And if there's trash and things, they can clean and collect those. Well, one of the biggest things in new neighborhoods and things that's great to put them out, but they have to be monitored. So after every rain event, code enforcement usually will drive through those streets, see where they are full and have already done their job. They have to be cleaned and maintained in order to keep up. Otherwise, they flow over and it starts contaminating. So these are all methods there. So like I said, silt fence, geotextiles, detention ponds. You see those in neighborhoods. It's ways to stop the destructive forces of water. Next slide there. And these are some visual right there. So like the rock in the bottom right corner, that's made to kind of keep erosion from happening. It breaks up the water coming through there and makes it less destructive and keeps it from rotting all that soil. Example of that is in our park. We added that on the bridges over the walkway. So you see all that riprap or wrap material that's been put down there. That's what it's for erosion. Next slide. Any questions on this program or?
I just like to ask a small question. Is there any concern about kids getting in the storm drains?
Not typically. It's a pretty small opening. It's not that it's impossible, but it's never been a huge concern. We do get the occasional cat. We actually had a call over this weekend about a duck. It does happen. Typically, depending on the situation, and cell phones is the other common one. I've never had an occurrence of a kid stuck in there.
Well, the retention pond that is in the meadow, that's on the north end of our neighborhood, the kids play in that all the time, including my children, and they can literally run into the storm drain, like it's big enough right there, and it has no gate or grate or anything.
That would be typical. There's usually nothing that would prohibit a kid from entering the storm drain. That would be true of most, drainage culverts like that. You could put, there's times if there was needed that you could put some sort of grading, but that's now a potential to collect and hold.
To collect stuff.
And cause
Okay.
problems in a flood.
Okay.
So that's not been historically an issue that we've ran into of any kind of danger there, but.
Okay. Thank you.
No other questions, we'll go to the next update. Just a quick update on the fire station expansion project. Like I said, right now it is just steady construction work. As you see, I believe the fire chief said we're about 90% on all the HVAC stuff. It's pretty much installed, including I think most of the units. Brick and masonry, they're doing like a test wall to make sure the color match is good. But they're working on that, and again, interior finish out, and I believe data cable installation is possibly next week. I think they're starting this week and into next week. So if you'll go to that next slide, there's a couple other pictures. And you see these are long hallways and rooms, but it's starting to look like a next slide. All right, so this is the next update on that Schreiber Drive drainage improvements. I believe they are only like a maximum of 2 weeks from being done. They are supposed to be doing possible seeding this week or next. As you can see, most of I'm pretty sure all the piping is in. The little flume that you can see in that bottom left-hand corner, it's there, and they've done a lot of that fine grading. They're getting things cleaned up and getting grass established as the plan, and then they'll be out of that neighborhood. And it's been a very needed and a very clean project. We've been really happy with the contractor we've had on that job. They've done a real good job kind of maintaining the area, and we hadn't had any real complaints about access, so we've been really happy with that. Sir?
Are they not going to lay sod, they're going to seed it?
I believe that they're going,
Okay, okay,
they're going to be watering by water truck, but I believe they are laying sod in that.
okay, good.
And Mr. Tucker, before you move on to 7D, back on 7B, it talked about discussing the dedicated space for the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office. Or any new update to that? It's just,
No, that's just, nothing specific to it. That space will have a place for the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office.
I just saw that on there and didn't know there was anything additional, so just the same.
Okay.
Thank you.
And next slide, if you will. So on the Fund 20 road improvement project, that is coming to an end. There is two noteworthy things. So the intermodal south is where they currently are. They are planning on opening that on 4/27, so that has already been poured, so it's just blocked off and it's curing. So that'll be opened up next Monday to traffic, and that'll be the end of any of the concrete repairs on that area. We did have a closure over the previous weekend, and that went surprisingly well. We thought having that entire intersection down was going to be a huge problem, and it's always what you don't expect. It went pretty flawlessly. I drove through several times. Traffic seemed to handle it okay. And also,
I think having the social media blast out, I think really helped a lot of people know that that was coming, and they avoided the area.
Okay, yeah, we were hoping between that and the marquee signs, it would help. And I think the fact that it was on a weekend, we were really lucky there. And we tried our hardest on this next item on this Westport Bridge. It's just these asphalt transitions. There's 3 lanes. There's 2 that go eastbound, 1 that goes westbound, or opposite, sorry. That is the next thing that's going to happen. We were planning on that being this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, we're not going to be shutting down any road. We're going to be eliminating 1 lane at a time over 3 days. So they will always have east and west abilities. Going to be reducing that lane. So I do believe on Wednesday it's going to be the center lane. Then we're going to shift, I want to say the north lane and the south lane. They did look at doing this at any kind of off-peak hours or on weekends. You cannot get asphalt outside of normal hours. I think usually 8 o'clock is about as early, and it has to be on the weekdays. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there may be a slight delay, and we think it's going to take the majority of the day. They're going to try to get as much of that as done early as possible. But again, we are not closing any kind of east and west. We're just eliminating 1 of those 3 lanes at a time.
Or we can do a social media blast again.
We'll do one of those first thing in the morning, and we have a TCP to go with that, so it'll kind of show it. But I think it should be pretty explanatory. Now, the contractor did say he would like to leave, when they finish, they'd like to leave it closed for till the next morning, and then close off the next one. That way it gives enough time for the asphalt to cool and a better chance of not having wheel marks or anything in it. And then, like I said, and that will conclude that entire project. And then I know a lot of times you always hear the negative end of it. We only received 2 phone calls. We had 2 people that went out of their way to call to say specifically how happy they were on the improvements. One was he worked for Side Trucking, and there was a lot of complaints at the massive craters in those intersections. And the other one came from just a resident that was just happy with the one at Harmon that had been a problem. So I do think the public do occasionally. I don't know if you all ever get to hear that part of, we appreciate the work, and so I thought that was nice to have heard. Next slide, if you will. So then the Haslet Park and the Brentwood Road repairs, those are going to begin on, that's 4/27, and they're expecting all that to take 3 weeks. He didn't have a specific on where and what they will be starting in those neighborhoods. And at least for Haslet Park, what that's going to look, well, I guess for both, what that'll look like is basically you're going to see them first with saws. They're going to demo and cut all that material out, and they're going to haul it off. And then they'll be prepping subgrade after that. Now, during that time, they're going to try to leave, like they're not going to be closing anything down. They're going to leave transitions in the subgrade. So you may have compacted subgrade to drive on with ramps going down and back up. That way they're not having to do a complete closure, and they're going to try to keep as much access as possible during that process. And then when they're after the subgrade is compact, they'll go to paving. Site restoration, they're out. Like I said, he thinks that entire turnaround they should be out by 5/18, and I think that's a reasonable window. Slide. Then the very last one was one I've already given. That just was an update on that. And like I said, I will let him know we're still having issues with those lock gates. And we'll try to monitor some of that internally. Like I said, I do think it'll be a reoccurring challenge because there's always any 1 of 5 people that could not get that locked, but we have seen improvements, at least on the water crossing. And I think that's the last I have on the.
Before you go, just one quick thing. My neighborhood has had some complaints about the water meters that were replaced and it not being left in good condition.
Yeah, we had several complaints about that, and
Okay.
we agreed. We ordered new topsoil to make sure it's super clean. Just
Okay.
and we're having them go back out. And they did do some of this work on Friday, but it was right after the rain, so a lot of that kind of settled back in. And we assure you, we'll go back to make sure those are level, square, and flush as good or better as what it was before.
Okay, that's good that I can take it back to my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, James, real quick, and probably Mike Anderson also, but on Haslet Park and Brentwood repairs, I know we're getting that done. People are getting excited about it. But do we still have the major road, reconstruction and all? Is that still a project for 2027?
Yes, sir, I'll have that ready for the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, James. Thank you. That was good. Good presentation. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll handle an update for the council on 7G as it relates to Haslet Parkway. And hopefully I answer all your questions this morning. If not, please feel free to back me up and we'll see if we can walk through this. So I had a kickoff meeting with TxDOT and COG on April 9th. That was a productive meeting. We went through and had a good understanding, or was able to get a good understanding of what items construction related remain on the project from 35 up through intermodal all the way out to Station 69, where the current project is currently terminated. So we've got that list assembled. We've asked TxDOT and COG to get back together and do a little forensic auditing of the project funds that existed for the Haslet Parkway project. One of the items that was necessary to be completed was the extension and completion of Haslet's utilities from more or less Station 69 out through the end of the project. And so I asked them to provide us with a status of, the funds that have been paid by the city for those items, what portion of those funds have been expended, what portions remain, because we do need to get in and complete the utility extensions as originally programmed into the package. We agreed that all the construction items that remain from 35 up through intermodal that were left non-completed as part of the accelerated L construction that the mayor was able to get in place, we've agreed that those items are minor in nature, really just seeding and general cleanup and things in the parkway. We've elected to move forward and have any of those minor items addressed with the 170 extension flyover project, which is in the works. I got an email on that this afternoon. I haven't yet opened because I'm trying to do one thing at a time. But we'll have an update. We'll be able to kind of correlate those remaining minor items back into the 170 project once we know a little bit more about that and when that project will be moving forward. Construction fundings, any shortfall, potential shortfall for the Haslet Parkway project, to include the small bridge, any potential shortfall fundings. Ms. Gotti at COG has said that she will look into the use of TIP funds. And I don't know what that stands for. You'll have to forgive me. I'll have a better update after our working meeting with them Thursday. There are no RTR funds. Once we have an accounting of what project funds are left over and we identify that shortfall, she said that she'll get us in for June 26 TIP funding, and those construction funds should be available by November of 26. Okay? So one of the things that we stressed at this first initial meeting was that Haslet wanted to maintain control over engineering on the project so that we can take advantage of the plans that have already been produced for Haslet Parkway at grade, take advantage of utilizing Kimley Horn as the consultant for the project. We've got a good working relationship with them. We're obviously very familiar with the plans that they produced, and they also helped put together the concept and the schematic for the Long Bridge, okay? So nobody had any issue with that. We just need to figure out how we're going to move forward and get them and keep them under contract. We have advanced funding agreements for the project that exist, covering the engineering for phase 1 and 2 of the project. Those need to be closed out. There's a little bit of money left. So I've got a meeting that I'm trying to schedule for next week, possibly later this week with Kimley Horn, to try to work out a scope so we can figure out what they need to design, figure out a way to modify the existing AFAs so we don't have to start the process over. We don't have to go through federal procurement or turn this thing over to TxDOT. That will allow the city to maintain control of the project and allow us to be as flexible as possible in the delivery of the project. And what I mean by that is, I think the easiest way to get Haslet Parkway extended and connected to 156 is to take the plans that were already done, find the money to build that section of roadway, and get that project released for construction. Timing of that, as it relates to the bridges, should all work itself out just fine. The Chrissy grant for the Long Bridge, was told by Mr. Neal at our meeting, he thinks that all that will be sorted out by the end of the year. TxDOT, we discussed the existing Kimley Horn plans that we have in place for the project. If those are repackaged and we take into account items that are already complete out there, there's some box culverts and some other things that are already complete. We repackage those plans, send them through the TxDOT process, stay within the existing footprints of the project, which we should be able to do. We're building everything at grade. They said that they didn't see any reason why those plans and that project couldn't be ready to let by February of 27. Okay? I know it sounds like a long time, but in reality, that's pretty quick. Okay? So we're doing everything we can to accelerate that and keep that portion of the project advancing forward. On or around that time, we should know the answer on which bridge we're going to design. We can kick them off on designing whatever bridge we need to design and keep everything moving. So that's the plan. That's what we put forward. Everybody's excited about it. We've got the momentum. I've got a meeting on Thursday to see what they've been able to identify as far as fundings or shortfalls and accounting on the project. With that and my meeting with Kimley Horn, I'll be able to come back with a better update for everybody, but just wanted to let you know that we've had really two good meetings. The last one on the 9th was very productive, and we'll just keep the project moving for you.
Did you just say start construction maybe by February, or what did you say? Oh.
Yeah, let the project for bidding. I don't know if that's bidding it,
Not for construction. Okay.
starting construction. Construction could probably start as soon as 2 months after that,
Okay.
depending on how long the review process takes with TxDOT. Presuming we can work out the AFAs. I'm not sure exactly what that process looks like, but a lot of little details. They're kind of going away doing their thing. I've got things to do. We're going to come back together Thursday and try to keep having weekly or bi-weekly meetings on this project just to keep it moving.
I had a quick question. So that's very, very exciting. Thank you for all the information. So just to be clear, they're going to look at the shortfall fundings. They're going to see if there's anything that needs to be added, and then look at the, is it TIP? TIP
Correct.
funds?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, by November to know if that needs to supplement.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Okay.
The bridge that TxDOT had, the short bridge, it was a separate CSJ project, separate from the two Haslet Parkway CSJs, right? So we need to figure out where those monies are, what's left, what could be allocated back into this combined.
I was just making sure I
hybrid
wrote the
project.
date down correctly, so that, yeah, that sounds great. Thank you
And
very much.
like I said, we'll come back with some better dates and more specifics after we get through probably next week's meetings.
Mr. Ennis, I'd have one question for you for the
Yes,
Avondale Haslet section of it. When I had a meeting with Commissioner Ramirez, he had mentioned that Tarrant County was going to fund, excuse me, was going to fund the expansion of that small portion of Avondale Haslet from where Fort Worth is have it expanded to where we're responsible, that we don't have any funding and such in place. Did you guys speak to Tarrant County at all about funding from that section of this, since that kind of is, from his explanation of it, he said he's tying it into the whole bridge project. When that gets done, when the bridge is built, whichever one is built, he's going to expand that part of Avondale Haslet as well, so that way 4 lanes goes into Avondale Haslet all the way to 287 versus, did you have a chance to speak with them, or Anything along those lines?
We did examine that. The current Haslet Parkway project was programmed to stop at the city limits line, the S-curve. The current City of Fort Worth project that's about to get under construction, that is, I think the majority of it is funded by Tarrant County. That line in the sand has moved over to Creekside Drive, further to the east. And so one of the homework assignments was trying to reestablish the new limits of the projects. Once we have that done and we get some exhibits produced, then we'll need to go talk to everyone and make sure that we've got all that covered. But basically what we're trying to do is figure out what's funded and what's under construction so that when we go back to Ms. Gotti, she knows exactly how much money we need to make sure we've got one continuous project.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate
So
it.
we will stay on the loop and stay in constant contact with those folks.
If they're offering us money, let's take it.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mike, I mentioned to you earlier, but regardless of whatever design we go with for a grade separation project, if we can keep in mind, the folks over in La Terra, as we get there, I'd really want to keep integrated into the design of this, some sort of walking path going underneath, that bridge, incorporated in it. I think as you're in the design phase, it's a great time to do it. Really like somehow in the incorporation between Mr. Ashton and you, get involved with at least a couple people on the park board, because they're over the parks and trails is a big part of that. So I want the park board to have some input. How can we connect? And I'll bring this up because we met with some folks over in La Terra, and one of their big concern is they want access to parks, but coming out of La Terra right now, they got to get on Avondale Haslet, go down to 156, going over the train tracks to get down to Community Park. But if we could get a trail system going from, over by the schools, if we can work with BNSF, maybe work with their right-of-way, where those folks could basically get on a path, come down here to Community Park where the bridge is or on the train tracks, come right there. They don't even have to cross train tracks. I think it's a great opportunity to incorporate trail systems to one of our communities and get these people off the roads, basically. And that's what they want. They want safe patches to be able to come down to Community Park. So as you look in design, please keep that in mind, try to incorporate that into the bridge.
Yes, sir. Understood. I'll
And,
make a note of that.
and that's, either way we go, let's just make sure we're in there, and let's include the park board, 'cause that's part of what their, mission is trails and walkways.
Yes, sir. The mayor and I have a meeting, we're trying to set up for later this week, I think, to talk about a potential signal at John Day and or Creekside along Avondale Haslet. I think part of the issue over there is people can't safely navigate across the roadway through there. So we are trying to look at some of that so that as the bridge gets designed, whatever it is, that'll all be back to grade generally in that same area. So we can have an idea of functionality like that, connectivity, as well as safety or pedestrian improvements, so.
Yeah, 'cause they're
duly
very
noted.
family-centric, and they're worried about their, being able to send their kids over. And right now, there's no way in heck they're even thinking about letting their kids go to community park. So, if we can get a good trail system put in place, that just would expand our current trail system. So that would be really good if we can keep that in mind.
Okay, duly noted.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have a kind of a big picture question. I remember hearing in some previous presentations that Haslet Parkway, where it is now, is 4 lanes with the median in the middle, right?
Correct.
And I also heard someone mention that at some point, there's an expectation that will have to go to 6 lanes due to traffic congestion and that sort of thing, like down the road. Are those considerations being taken into account with the designs of this extension of Haslet Parkway and any bridge that goes over the railroad tracks, that at some point it will have to be 6 lanes? Because if you build a bridge that's 4 lanes right now and you have to go back and make it 6, that's really difficult. But if you make it 6 now, even if you don't need the 6, you just stripe it off for now, it's a lot easier. And I realize that's a big question, and I don't want to mess the project up if that messes up the timeline and all that other sort of thing. But I'm just curious if there's any of those considerations that anyone's even talking about.
Well, I know that when the Haslet Parkway was designed, there was a traffic impact study that was done based on development projections, and that was to determine the pavement design standards as well as the right-of-way widths and the number of lanes. That report was done prior to the plans being developed for Haslet Parkway. So that's, whenever that was, 2018, 2019. I know the mayor and I, when we were going through working with Kimley Horn to support the Long Bridge, there was an additional modeling effort that was done between our traffic engineer and COG to basically take a look at all the projections across the bridge. That way we could validate what the number of lanes, et cetera. I don't have the answer for that right now because the only published formal study has everything at grade. But we will have to go through and do some sort of analysis to ensure that we at least understand the capacity needs for the design life of the bridge before we get to that point.
Well, if there's some way that we can, when we do the utility extensions, if there's some way that we can do those utility extensions in a way that we don't have to go back and do them again if we have to expand the road, I think that would be a lot better use of our tax dollars.
Yes, sir.
To do it once instead of having to do it and then do it again.
Yes, sir.
Because we're already talking about maybe having to do it on the Haslet Parkway that's already been built, if the flyover would have been put in a different way.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we're having those considerations for future, even if it's going to be 20 years down the road. I don't want to have to do it a second time.
Understood.
Okay, thank you, sir.
In the original design of Haslet Parkway and the determination that ultimately one day it may need to be 6, is all that right-of-way has been already purchased. All the utility relocations were put outside of that,
I just want to make sure that we're doing
outside
that
lane.
again.
Had already been taken into consideration in the original design. The design of Haslet Parkway, it was 6 lanes ultimately, if needed, but starting with 4, from I-35 to FM 156. From that point, from 156 going to Avondale Haslet Road, it was 4 lanes, according to all their traffic studies. And that is still the current design that Fort Worth has, is 4, with no, I don't believe, in fact, I know they don't have any additional right-of-way purchase to expand to 6.
Well, I have talked to some of the Fort Worth people, and they do know that at some point it's going to have to be 6 for their section as well. But for them to do that now, they would have to demolish some houses, so they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So they're doing 4. They know it'll have to be 6 at some point. So I'm just wanting to make sure that we're looking down the road so we don't have to do things twice. So, thank you, sir.
Anything else, Ring?
All right, very good. Good presentation. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
The last piece of that is with regard to the Long Bridge. Today, the U.S. Department of Transportation released the notification of funding opportunity for the Chrissy grant. So today was the first day of notice, and we have already spoke today with North Central Texas Council of Governments and to proceed with that. So they are ready and have the verified manpower to address this. The grant is due January 22nd. Excuse me, June 22nd. It is June 22nd, 2026. So we have just a little over 2 months to get this submitted. That concludes our updates.
7H, sir?
7H. Blue Mountain Road reconstruction.
One more.
And this is a good one, too.
This is a good one. All right, good evening. Mr. Horak had asked that I have an update for everyone on Blue Mountain Road. I'm still not ready, but I've got a better update coming for you in June. But this is high level and should give everybody some updates on what we've got accomplished to date. So Blue Mountain Road, If you go back to that first slide, Richard, I'm sorry. As we look at it, you know, it's real difficult for us to just design one little piece of a project. We kind of have to look at it in totality, so that's what you see here. We have John Day Road on the page right, screen left, over on the west side. You see some multicolored area there. That is the proposed bridge that the BNSF and Tarrant County have applied for federal funding for. You'll see the entrance into Ashmore Farms in North Glen, right there in the middle of the screen. And then as you approach the east, you see the intersection with FM 156. Kind of just a general overview of the project. So we got 3 boxes on there, and that's kind of where I'm going to speak this evening. Next slide, please. So again, it's a multi-phase project. We're looking at this as Blue Mountain Road at FM 156. We're calling that phase 1. Phase 2, we're calling Blue Mound at John Day Road. And then we were thrown a little bit of a curveball back in January when we got the information from Tarrant County and BNSF about a grade separated crossing there. It's a great thing, right, for mobility. It's just we didn't have any of that on our radar as we had developed the intersection improvement plans for John Day Road last year. And so that's why we have that project is being listed as Tarrant County dependent. So if we could start off with the PDFs, Richard. Just kind of walk you through some exhibits and we'll get back into my short presentation. Okay, so here we have our corridor schematic that we developed for the project. What we have funded right now is the design of a 16-inch water line from FM 156 near the bottom of the exhibit up through the intersection at Blue Mound and then west all the way over to John Day Road. So that project is funded. We've got that whole portion of the roadway topo surveyed, boundary surveyed, and we're in the process of putting together easement and right-of-way documents for the project. If you go to the
For which project again?
for the water
Utility.
yes, sir.
Yeah,
For the
okay.
utility relocation.
Making sure we're
Yes,
all on the
sir.
same page.
And I'll tie this all back together here in a few minutes. You go to the next exhibit for me. Thank you, sir. So here's our original intersection improvement exhibits for John Day Road that we put together. This was developed in conjunction with the intersection improvements that were assigned to the LaPrelle development that you see just west of John Day Road. So the light colored gray is the existing pavement width, and then you'll see the darker gray that is all proposed pavement that we've, through our analysis that was done last year at the along the corridor, we determined necessary improvements to handle increased intersection capacity at this location. You'll note this project has some complications. There's a large 30-foot gas line easement that runs just basically along the center line of Blue Mound Road. Blue Mound Road at this particular location, you have Fort Worth jurisdiction on one side, Tarrant County on the other, and then we have Haslet there. We need about $850,000 worth of right-of-way, and there is a large gas line that needs to be dealt with as well. And just when we thought we had it all figured out, if you go to the next exhibit, please. They said, here, let's throw a bridge in on this to make it more complicated. So you kind of see, Richard, if you could kind of just zoom in to back to the intersection on the west side. So the bridge deck is in blue, the yellow are the retaining walls. Keep going to the west, Richard. You're doing good. It's a big file. So you see their current schematic design has impacts and implication on what we've determined necessary from a capacity standpoint at the intersection. So you see that big long turn lane that's outside of the limits of the bridge. So Mr. Carruthers, to your point and to your ask about, hey, are we building the right bridge up here? These are the types of things that we're in the process of trying to sort out so we can go back and coordinate with Tarrant County and make sure that whatever gets built out there makes sense, right?
So you said you just found out in January that they were doing this bridge. Was that because I said it in the council meeting, or did you find that somewhere else?
Well, we got this
From them?
exhibited in January, yes, sir. I
Okay.
think we had heard about it in late November, but
The county had called us up and notified us early on,
Okay.
months before they released anything.
Okay,
Just to be
So-
clear, south is North Glen? Down?
South is down.
you're looking at
Right.
Dove Estates right
North
there.
Glen, just making sure.
That's Dove Estates right there.
That's Dove Estates, okay.
Lonesome Dove, yeah. So my understanding is that this bridge is going to have the same challenge as the Avondale Haslet Bridge, but opposite, because right now, the Avondale Haslet, if it's a small bridge, the steep slope is going to be on the east side, but this one's going to have the same issue on the west side, trying to get off the railroad tracks and down to John Day. Am I correct?
I think the slope they were showing was 3.5%. Could you pan
So
down?
they've got
in
some more room there?
Yeah, because the tracks kind of sit in the hole.
3.26,
There you
okay.
go. And then 2.5 as you go out east.
And that's, oh yeah, that's including the proposed BNSF?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the fourth track,
Yes, sir.
okay.
So we had heard about the project. I don't want to act like
So
we
this
didn't
is a
know.
lot better.
Just- Yeah, this is much more.
Because there's more
technically-
room. Because there's more room.
More room, and you don't have the clearance issues. You don't have the grades that you're trying to tie into this, and this railroad track kind of sits down in a hole.
Yeah, because Blue Mountain comes from the top and
Yes, sir.
drops down. Yep, okay.
And so what we're in the process of doing, we had our water line all figured out, but now if you'll kind of, you kind of see our water lines having to skirt out beyond the right-of-way that we were proposing to get for the road, because now we're having to share the right-of-way with the potential for a large bridge and retaining walls. So we're in the process of trying to sort through all that, but we're trying to do enough with their information. They have limited information. All they really have is that schematic drawing you see right there. There's a long way between building something but at least we have something to work with, right? So we're moving forward, but we understand that this particular intersection, just given the things that we've talked about in the last 5 minutes, it's gonna take a little bit more time for us to deal with than 156, okay? So if you go to the next PDF, please. So that's why we're saying phase 1 is 156 improvements. So everyone should recognize this from our presentation in September. And those are all the recommended improvements for capacity increases at Blue Mountain and 156, dark gray being new hot mix, light gray being existing. You kind of see some water lines that we're in the process of dealing with. So that's what we're calling our phase 1 project. So if we could jump back into PowerPoint, please, sir. And if we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so currently, our current project design scope, we're in the process of designing our Blue Mountain Road 16-inch water line lower. Can't really design the water line till you at least generally know where the pavement is. Otherwise, you're putting your water line in the wrong spot. It's a $1.8 million water line. We want to do it once. Okay, so we have enough money in the budget to figure out generally where the edges of the pavement are, generally what those edge of pavement elevations are, and how much room we need to construct that, right? That's all part of whether we're doing a road or we're doing a water line, we have to do that first, right? So we're taking advantage of this exercise to get the water line designed to establish schematically those limits necessary for the road project, okay? Future project design scope would be phase 1 design or phase 1 right-of-way acquisition. Can't build the intersection without additional right-of-way on both sides of FM 156. We also need to do the detailed engineering design for the roadway drainage and intersection improvements. Right now, it's just it's programmed as a rural style hot mix roadway. The reason is we'd like to take advantage of our partnership with Tarrant County and get them to potentially construct the project once it's designed in a manner similar to what we did with Keller Haslet and some other projects in the past. We've got a good working relationship with those folks, and they're excited about the project, but we've got a lot to do before they can get out there and start putting hot mix down. The next item that we'll need to get into would be the utility relocations. We have the engineering design and the construction dollars allocated for the city's water line, which is the only city utility that will be in conflict or needs to be resolved. So that would be phase 1 utility relocations. those can't start until the right-of-way's in place, right? Can't go out and move stuff until you have the right to do so. And so, all that will need to begin as soon as possible. And then you'll see we have the FM 156 traffic signal design and relocation, as well as some striping and restriping of FM 156 to accommodate that intersection exhibit. And the mayor and I had some conversations with TxDOT last summer about the potential for them participating in the relocation of that traffic signal, and they seem to indicate that that would be something they would be willing to talk to us about. Same thing with the county. We've had some early discussions with them last summer it was about this project, and basically just kind of need to get what we have here before you back in front of those folks so we can start making some decisions and putting together some timelines. Yes, sir.
As you do things with the traffic signals, can we please get blinking yellow left turns,
Yes,
please?
yes. That's programmed into the intersection.
It would help so much. Thank you.
I would like to make a note, that's dependent upon the speed limit, whether you can have a blinking left turn. It is dependent on the speed limit. We've requested that at several intersections already, and that's what we were told.
Okay.
So it is dependent upon the speed limit. They would have to agree to lower some speed limits.
What is so 45, it needs to be 45 to have the blinking yellow, like it is on Main Street?
Correct,
So
45 or less.
it turns 45 right past that intersection, so it might have to be right before.
And we have some work up and down 156 restriping in addition to the signal. So there's going to be some coordination and discussion with TxDOT, and that'll be one of the things we'll have to work through. That ironed out. Okay, next slide, please. So here's kind of a high-level schedule. Again, this is a multi-jurisdictional project, which just means a lot of paperwork. Phase one, as we talked about, is a little more complicated given the fact that we have a Tarrant County roadway over there, as well as coordination with the BNSF. Talked a little bit about the timeline as far as how that impacts the intersection improvements at John Day Road. But both these intersections have multiple stakeholders in that the LaPrelle development, we have a development agreement with those folks for them to cost contribute to the construction of turn lanes at 156. They're responsible for turn lanes at John Day Road as well as traffic signal. So that was one of the reasons why we studied all this was, you know, they can only be responsible for so much of those intersection improvements. So we've gone back through the study work over the last year or so and determined what portion of those improvements is allocated to their traffic, what portion of the intersection improvements is existing traffic from City of Fort Worth and other places within Tarrant County. And then we tied it back to existing Haslet development traffic and then future traffic in Haslet as well. So we've prorated all those numbers, and we've got all those, and those will be used in recommending pro rata cost splits for the intersection improvements when we get to that point. We're not there yet, but we do have a basis that we're trying to work off of as far as recommending cost share opportunities for those intersections. You have a question?
When is Fort Worth, or when do they think they might hear about their bridge over Blue Mound and like John Day right there? When do they think they might hear? Is that just?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll make sure that's in the next update. Mayor, do you know anything about the timing of that application?
No, they have not heard back on if they've been awarded any funds. They haven't gotten that feedback yet. So they're waiting to see if they get awarded federal funds as well. That project, again, but that's a Tarrant County project.
Yeah.
And just on Blue Mound Road, from the railroad tracks to John Day Road, that is a county road. County owns that. And from John Day Road going towards the west, Fort Worth owns that. now the city of Haslet does own John Day Road going north from Blue Mound Road. So much of that is a county and/or Fort Worth funding. But all of these projects that Mike is presenting, we are submitting to Tarrant County for various forms of assistance, whether it's through ILAs on the road construction aspect of it or funding with regard to their portion of it on Blue Mound Road. Go ahead. Good.
So 2026, we need to get our funding agreements in place. We need to move forward with the right-of-way and design funding. And so as you all get into your budget discussions coming up, I plan to come back here hopefully in June, have all this ready to go so we can make some recommendations. Start with the total project cost for the two intersections and then break it down by what do we need today. What do we need today is keep the project moving by acquiring right-of-way and moving into the design phase. And then we get into utility relocations, finally into construction. So that's kind of what we have for 2026. Basically take that schematic that I flashed up, get that through 100%, and then begin the engineering design later this year. We also need to move forward with any necessary right-of-way and easement acquisitions. So we need right-of-way for Blue Mound Road, and then there's potential that we may need some easements to allow for a water line so it doesn't end up underneath a retaining wall or something associated with the bridge. 2027, we have moving into the final engineering design out of preliminary. That would be for the roadway, the traffic signal, and the drainage improvements. We then get into the agency approvals in coordination with TxDOT, BNSF for utility crossing, and then any work with Tarrant County or coordination efforts there. Easement acquisition ends hopefully by the end of 2027. I don't know exactly how many parcels, but there's at least a half a dozen, probably more. I'll have a detailed strip map available at our next update meeting. We're in the process of finalizing that. At that point, we'll need to move into the utility relocation. So that's the key to keeping the project moving. We're hoping that we can be into that second half of 2027. Complete the utility relocations by 2028, and then figure out, presuming Tarrant County is willing to move forward and help construct portions of this project, what portions can they construct, what portions will we need to bid, real similar to what we did on the Keller Haslet project, right? And then begin the intersection improvement construction by 2028. Next slide, please. So the critical path items for keeping this thing moving over the next several months, I've kind of gone month by month here just to help everybody understand where we're at. Again, we've got the water line relocation project funded for design and construction. We've got adequate funding in that project to get all the right-of-way documents and easement documents funded for that project. What we don't have is the easement acquisition and the design of the roadway funded. So you'll see that as the last bullet is recommended for funding in budget year, fiscal year 27. So begin our agreement points, have our project meetings with our stakeholders, work through the 30% schematic, determine what our right-of-way easement needs are and verify those. Moving into June, draft agreement project meetings, get our schematic to 60%, finalize our strip map, and develop our budget. July, move into agreement review, complete our 60% schematics, get our actual right-of-way documents developed. Hopefully we could do that sooner, maybe in June. Should be able to advance that by a month. We'll need to get all the applicable and pertinent easements reviewed during August. Take the schematic for the whole corridor to 100%, and by August have all the right-of-way documents ready to be distributed to property owners. Make contact with those folks. September, hopefully we've got all of our agreements ready for approval by the different stakeholders. We've completed our schematic design, and we'll have values determined for our right-of-ways and our easements. And you can see in red, we need funding for engineering design of the roadway, as well as the right-of-way acquisition for the project. And then continuing after the first of the fiscal year would be get into the preliminary engineering design for the road and begin the actual right-of-way acquisition process. Next slide, please. So what's next? I might have it ready for the second meeting in May because I need to be back here for another item. But for sure by the first meeting in June, we'll have the 30% schematic finalized. We'll have the right-of-way strip map. We'll split that out into 2 phases. Figure out, do we want to go hard for phase 1 or do phase 1 and phase 2? However you guys want to do it, doesn't matter to me. Phase 2 or phase 1 and 2, total project cost budgets. We've developed some that we presented back in September, so we'll get those fine-tuned and updated based on the topographic and boundary survey that we have back. And then we'll make some recommendations and have some a path forward for you, more detailed schedule information for budget discussions beginning June. Figure that's reasonable. Next slide. I don't know if that's it. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Yeah, we do have one more PDF. So along those lines, and the mayor alluded to it, there's some ILA projects coming up. There's the one ILA project that we will be able to get to construction on this year would be Westport Schoolhouse and FM 156. So you can see the darker pavement there for, I guess, westbound Westport traffic coming up to the intersection at FM 156. And then you'll see a lengthened turn lane on 156 for southbound traffic. I think the existing turn lane is, what does that say, 305 feet? 308, close. And then we're showing a potential 430-foot extension to allow for some additional stacking. If you recall, back when the Main Street, John Day Road, Keller Haslet extension project was conceived, the modeling effort for the traffic, you know, we predicted that 50% would go this way, 50% would go that way. So what we're in the process of doing now is getting an estimate together for Lee Engineering to come back in, do a new traffic count based on the current conditions of the roadway as it's operating today. The project's complete. People are starting to figure it out, right? Collect the data, determine what necessary signal improvements are recommended along the corridor for 156 now that we have all of our facilities in place, and then verify the required or recommended storage links at these locations so that Tarrant County could come back in and get this project built for us. They're hoping that they can be in Haslet early September of this year. That's kind of when they have us programmed in. We've got this project, a little bit of work on Blue Mountain Road, and I can't think of the other project right offhand, but as we move into budget, we'll have some additional information on these projects, but this is one that we just wanted to make sure you had an update on as well.
Well, with regard to ILAs, it will be this one, and we have, this is estimated at like 575,000, somewhere in that part. And right now we have 400,000 of it budgeted, but going with an ILA with Tarrant County, that ought to drop it back down to their contribution towards that will bring that down to cover the funding that we have, and hopefully that's something we can get started in September.
That's correct.
The other ILA we'll be putting forward to them, which they have not received yet, is the Blue Mountain Road 156 intersection. As well as working with Tarrant County on John Day Road and Blue Mountain Road.
Anything else?
I have a
Mike,
quick-
let me, on, dealing right here with the Westport and 156 intersection, I don't know if it's Tarrant County or Fort Worth, but up there north off of 156 and Intermodal, I know they're doing a lot of road work up there. I'm just wondering, drive down that road now, it's really impassable. It's bad road. But once that gets completed, if we might not see some more of the traffic come off Keller Hicks, instead of diverting down south 156 to Westport, if we might see some of that traffic going north to intermodal, you know, I haven't measured it, I hadn't driven it to see if the mileage is the same, but I'm thinking you're kind of getting to the same spot, maybe the same time, but once they get that road completed, do you think we might see a reduction in the traffic come down south 156 to Westport?
Suspect so. We may not get our traffic counts in place before school lets out, which obviously changes traffic in its entirety. I don't know the timing of the completion of that road work up there, so we can look into that and then figure out if it makes sense to maybe see if we can time the collection after that's been completed.
I tried to drive it. I mean, I was just thinking, okay, hey, could some of these guys go that way? But I drove down the road, and it's not something you'd want to drive every day. It's in real bad shape. But once they get it completed, be a good connector on down, I guess that'd be going south on intermodal. But it looks like they still are a little ways off on doing all the completion on that.
We can look into that schedule.
And the next question is back on the Blue Mound and the John Day. I guess you're saying, more in the project phase 2, this right here, actually. Would there be any way at all that we could advance the lighting stoplights at that intersection, maybe before, some of the other construction gets stopped? Because that's one of the biggest concerns out of people that there is they can't get out on John Day. And could we go ahead and get some stoplights started there and then expand on them as the project?
Yeah, I think we could. We to do it, we need the right of way at the northeast corner there. You can see we've got the lights laid out based on the pavement expansion. If we could have the right of way, we could look at the possibility of trying to do some of that traffic signal work ahead, but we really need to take what we have and try to visit with the county and figure out what exactly their project includes. But I do understand that there is the need for some traffic devices over there.
Yeah, they're hurting pretty bad for it. I mean, just take it into consideration as you're working the project, if there's anything we can all, do to advance that little piece of it, I think that would really help that community over there a lot.
Okay, will do.
Blue Mountain, we know is congested road, but we need some sort of traffic mitigation over there.
Mr. Anderson, before you go, these are really great. I appreciate the work that you and the mayor have done. Improving the intersections is a great first step, but in 18 months, we have a new high school opening up on the other side of 35. And the rumor has it that everybody in Haslet is going to be going there instead of Eaton, which is going to incredibly increase the traffic on Blue Mound.
I've heard the biggest pulls coming from Byron.
From Byron.
It's going to be like 50-50, but you're right, it is going to increase
It's going to
that
incredibly increase the
traffic.
traffic on Blue Mound because that's going to be the closest road, that and Haslet Parkway, to get over there.
East of 35? Is that where it's
East of 35, behind the Flying J.
Okay.
So I don't know where we stand on expanding the rest of Blue Mound going east from 156, from 2 lanes to 4. I know there was an amount of money given by one of the developers over there to help the expansion. Do we have is anything on the radar for expanding that part from 156 over to Harmon Road of Blue Mound?
Well, we looked at the full section was what, 55 million to go 4-lane divided concrete?
Right. Which obviously is too much for us. So is there any way that we can partner with or get a grant for or beg, borrow, and steal from the RTC or the TxDOT or anybody else? Because we've got to,
Yeah.
it's going to take a coalition.
Yes.
Got to get the conversation started.
Well, we've done enough to prove that this is a regional thoroughfare.
Right.
And the meeting that we had in September, when we had the presentation that Heddle did, where he talked about the corridor, and we analyzed all the intersections. After we had left that meeting, we had conversations with Mr. Neal about the potential for COG funding on that corridor.
But I remember when you're talking about the September 15th meeting?
Yes, sir.
I remember when the gentleman gave that presentation for the Blue Mountain traffic study, he had no idea we had a high school coming.
Well,
Because
we-
I asked that specific question.
We haven't been given any information to that effect. The
Yeah.
first and only time I'd ever heard of it was then and then tonight. So the
They
district,
literally are going to open it in September of '27. It's already under construction.
but that's in what, Fort Worth over there?
No, well, I mean, but it's going
Jurisdictionally.
to affect all of us here.
No, I understand. I
Yeah.
completely understand, but we're not necessarily, people don't necessarily just come drop off that information with us, okay? So I do understand the impetus of getting it done. We do have the Harmon Road, Blue Mountain Road intersection, that's, the Ironwood folks
Right.
are. They sent me an email last week wanting to get together about trying to get some of that preliminary design going, so that's good. I think maybe there was some discussion about improving and cost sharing on that stretch by where the ISD has property right now. I think that's kind of gone away. Sounds like that school may not be happening right now. So I think what we need to do, and we can do it easily, we've done two different concept plans, is maybe go back in there and we can have that ready for your budget discussions coming up, is look at it from 156 out through there and figure it out. I don't necessarily know that we need to take it to 3-lane undivided the whole way right now, but I do know we need intersection improvements and other things, and let's figure out a phased approach, something that's reasonable, and talk through those with everybody. And if you just want to go full bore and do the whole thing, we can do that too. But
Because people, I appreciate Councilman Doug here talking about Laterra, but we're starting to hear from Sweetgrass and the Vines and all of that saying they can't get out of their neighborhoods either because of Blue Mound. So, I mean, we're hearing it from everywhere.
And back to the point that I made earlier about Mr. Neal and COG, he did tell us to reach out to him and see if we can get some discussions going about that, because that is a large project, right?
Yes, sir.
We've got several of them here that need to be dealt with, and so,
All at once,
all at once, yesterday, right, actually. So
10 years ago.
why don't we move forward? We can take the information we've already done, call it back, put together an exhibit and a cost estimate for that stretch. And then maybe we can talk to them about any opportunities that they might have for getting that in some sort of program that they might see.
Thank you.
COG is aware and has been aware probably for 7-8 months about the high school coming on the east side of I-35.
But nobody was aware until I brought it up on September 15th in that meeting. So,
Mayor Halsey, just one last thing. Can we get a copy, council, of this presentation as well as Mr. Tucker's so that we have that
Sure.
information? Thank you.
Anything else for me?
All right, council, do you have any questions for Mr. Anderson?
Thank you very much, Mike. Good information.
All right, if we go to item 8A, approval of the March 2nd, 2026 council meeting minutes.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I move to correct the motion passed on March 16th, 2026 regarding the March 2nd, 2026 city council meeting minutes by striking the request to note that Councilmember Morrow was absent at the February 17th meeting and to approve the March 2nd, 2026 city council meeting minutes as presented.
So that was February 2nd that it stated you were absent?
February 17th.
February 17th, I'm sorry. Ms. Babcock, do you have that? All right, very good. Motion is made to approve the minutes with the correction that Councilmember Morrow was present on February 17th, 2026. Present or absent?
I was absent.
You
By
were
striking the request to note that I was absent because I was
Oh,
present.
to note that you were absent.
Correct.
I'll restate that. Motion is made to approve the meeting minutes with the correction making that Councilmember Morrow was absent on February 17th, 2026. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second that.
All in favor? Very good. Let's recess the open session for about 5 minutes, take a break, and meet me back in 5 minutes. Thank you. And the time is 8:20 p.m. I'd like to call into session the council meeting at 8:29 PM. All the members of the council are present. We go to item 9A, discuss, consider, and act regarding an appeal of denied vendor's permit to locate a vending unit on property located at 1345 FM 156 to operate as Sugar Rush Shaved Ice LLC. Mr. Thetford.
Yes, sir. Mayor, members of the council, you may recognize this same item from last year. Matter of fact, this is about the 6th year we've done this. Essentially, Mahaley Mack, she's in the audience here with Sugar Rush Shaved Ice. She has requested a vendor's permit. One of the aspects of that vendor's permit, she is requesting to leave the vending unit overnight, and based on our ordinance, we don't allow that. So she has to remove it every night. She has requested a variance to leave it overnight. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything you have.
So I'll just clarify, historically, we have approved this every year.
Yes, sir, they have.
Very good.
And it's only for 6 months,
For
correct?
6 months. She, we were supposed to have this on the last council agenda, but some things got missed. And she's asking for another extension for another month based on what's listed on this report. She's in the audience if you have any questions.
So what month, out to what? From when to when?
A month onto whenever the permit.
Okay. So 1 month after the, let's see, so September 14th, so October 14th?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If we have to approve this every year, I don't suppose there's a way we could just make it where we don't have to do this every year.
Is there a way to do a multi-year variance? See, why not?
I would look to the attorney on that one.
It would require a change in the ordinance if you want to allow this type of use. The reason why she comes back every year is because it's not an allowed use, so staff has to deny it. But there is the provision that allows her to request an exception from council. So if you want to make this type of use permitted, that would require a change in the ordinance itself.
Seems silly, we've done it 6 years in a row. I approve it.
All right,
Mayor Halsey?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve an appeal of denied vendor's permit to locate a vending unit on property located at 1345 FM 156 to operate as Sugar Rush Shaved Ice LLC.
Motion is made to approve the appeal of a denied vendor's permit located at a vending unit on property located at 1345 FM 156 to operate as Sugar Rush Shaved Ice LLC, and that would terminate October 14th, 2026, correct?
Yes.
Very good. Is there a second?
Mr. Halsey, I'll second that.
There is a second. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council.
Thank y'all.
9B, hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act on ordinance XXX 2026 to amend Chapter 8, Offenses and Nuisances, Article 8.04, Noise Nuisances, by amending the construction-related noise regulations. Mr. Thetford.
Yes, sir. So over the past several months, we've had numerous complaints on construction noise. And when we try to enforce this, it's hard to look at the ordinance and explain what that's requiring them to do. And that's based on sun up, sundown, 30 minutes prior, 30 minutes after. We thought it would be more conducive to actually apply timeframes. And you do have a red line version on this. Essentially, it's number, well, on page 3 of 5, number 9 is construction work. So we are actually changing the sun up, sundown clause in here rather to reflect actual times. This would be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then also Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And,
Can you help direct the screen
oh yeah,
where to go?
right there.
There you are.
Yeah, so that's the red line version right there. So, yeah, so construction work, engaging in construction other than 7 a.m., 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and also 8 a.m., 8 p.m. on Saturday. And there's no mention of Sunday in here just because this is what would be allowed for construction times. Sunday would not be an allowed time unless in case of emergency or some type of urgent work.
Is there some consideration daylight savings versus
No.
any of that?
This would be year-round.
Okay.
One of the things, council, I was going to have you consider is the, on Saturday, or even these ending times on Monday through Friday, but is, I know that 8 p.m., a lot of families are putting their children to bed. Should it be cut off to 7, either Monday through Friday or Saturday?
I think that's a good point, Mayor Halsey. I mean, I know kids do go to bed around 7, 8 o'clock, so if you're going to stop the construction noise, 7 o'clock would probably be better for the citizens than 8 o'clock.
So 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday, is that what you're saying? 12 hours? Okay.
No, I
I
think
Saturday
we're
is
looking at
8.
Saturday, it'd still be 8 a.m. though, or later start on Saturdays, the way I'm reading what's on here. Go 8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
All right, could we get a motion?
Can I ask one question real quick first?
Yes.
We've had several companies come through the last year and asking about pouring concrete, and they want to start as early as possible. Would they just apply for a variance to this?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have to hold a public hearing? Or is this?
Oh, yes it is.
Yes, we do. All right, very good. I'll open up the public hearing at 8:36 p.m. Is there anybody that would like to speak pro or con to this ordinance change?
We did not receive anything.
Say that again.
We did not receive anything.
I was asking the people in the chamber here, but thank you. All right, is there anybody online?
No one online.
All right, there's no one in the audience or online. Those, I close the public hearing at 8:37 p.m. So, discuss, consider, and act. Council, you have any further discussion on this? If not, if we could get a motion.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve ordinance XXX 2026 to amend Chapter 8, offenses and nuisances, Article 8.04, noise nuisances by amending the construction-related noise regulations with the change of the night, what do we call it, the end time to 7 p.m. on Monday through Saturday.
Motion is made to approve the ordinance amending Chapter 8, offenses and nuisances, Article 8.0, noise nuisances, by amending the construction-related noise regulations with the noting the change on Monday through Friday and inclusive, but also Saturday end time is 7 p.m.
That's correct.
Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second that.
All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, council. 9C, discuss, consider, and act to approve the First Amendment to annexation agreement for that 67.589 acre tract of land situated in the Joel M. Lilly Survey, abstract number 979, Tarrant County, Texas, located east of Harmon Road, west of I-35W, southbound frontage road, and north of Keller Hicks Road, Mr. Page.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an amendment to the annexation agreement that you all approved at our March 16th meeting. Just as kind of a reminder, this is for the 67 acres that is to be owned, developed by Ironwood Interest. The current property owner, though, is Tri-County Electric. They were supposed to have closed on the property at the end of March. That did not occur. That was a requirement in the agreement itself that the property close by March 27th. So since that did not occur, they were requesting an amendment here to push that back by a few weeks so that now the new closing date is May 1st. And so while certain things, I guess, got in the way from them being able to close the property in March, they are very sure that it's going to close this time and that there shouldn't be any further amendments necessary. Again, no other changes are being made to the annexation agreement itself. And so again, it's just one small change to change the closing date. Nothing substantive that will affect the city at all is being changed by this.
So effectively, all we are doing, or this amendment is doing, is changing the closing date to extend it to May 1st,
Yes.
2026.
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Mayor Halsey, I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the First Amendment to annexation agreement for the 67.589 acre tract of land situated in the Joel M. Lilly Survey, abstract number 979, Tarrant County, Texas, located east of Harmon Road, west of I-35W, southbound frontage road, and north of Keller Hicks Road, to the date of May 1st as requested.
Motion is made to approve the First Amendment to the annexation agreement as presented with the closing date of being May 1st, 2026. Is there a second?
Yes, Mayor, I'll second that.
There's a second. All in favor?
It's discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
Yeah, that's a quick question, just for clarification, and I really am just asking this for clarification. It has on the recommendation that it's recommended, but by whom? Is it by staff, by mayor, by
It was upon
attorney?
request of the potential buyer.
So it's recommended by the buyer that we approve it?
Yes.
So the recommendation is recommended, the buyer's giving us a recommendation?
The buyer is requesting to
They're
move that.
requesting it, but I'm saying who, on our actual agenda item where it says recommendation, who is recommending we approve this?
Mr. Page.
Okay, so attorney, staff, okay, all right, just clarifying, thank you.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve this First Amendment. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Item 9D, reconsider Resolution 003-2026, the council relations policy and public meeting appearance card. I sent it back, some objections that I had, council, that I desire for you to reconsider is one being the responsibility cited for the mayor is that reflected of a city manager council form of government, of which we do not have at this time. As well as I read this, with regard to the chair, that the city council could request someone else chair the meeting. State statute, as you're all aware, gives explicit direction on that. If the mayor shall chair the all meetings, if the mayor is present, and Mayor Pro Tem would otherwise if the mayor is absent. Is that how that was written to be intended? Mr. Page, would you know that?
So this portion of the our policy was drafted from 2012, so this is not a change that was made from the most recently adopted resolution. So I don't know what the intent was when it was originally drafted. That was before my time.
But I assume our intent would be to comply with state statute with regard to the mayor chairing his sites.
Yes, and what you said is correct. The mayor
That's how,
chairs
that's
the
how I read
meetings.
it too, only if, like, there was something that happened and
If
you
the mayor's
couldn't.
not present.
Correct. That's how I read it as well.
Very good. So, clarify that.
So I guess I had a more secretarial, guys, question. So once it's approved and the 3 minutes go into effect, what is how are we going to monitor that moving forward? Is it going to be the secretary is keeping the time, you have a timer, the chair? So will you just give like a motion, so whoever the chair is will kind of let people
Talking
know?
about the mechanics of it?
Correct, the 3
There are
minutes.
multiple different ways we can
Right,
do
so
that.
what are we going to do moving forward?
Probably watch it until there's 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
We'll hold up 30 seconds left.
Okay, like a note card,
Yeah.
letting the people know, okay.
And then if they go to 3 minutes, then the chair will call their time.
Okay.
I think that the opportunity now to clarify that item, and it is on page 3, under mayor's or the meeting chair's responsibilities. First item under meeting chair's responsibilities. Also, I'd
Right.
like to make note, under our form of government, mayor's responsibilities, budget officer was left out.
On the meeting chair responsibilities, didn't we just say the intent was not, only someone's designated if the mayor is not there?
You could make it, one is the mayor will chair official meetings
Unless the mayor
of the
pro
city
tem or another
council,
council
then
member is
period.
designated as chair
Mayor
of a
pro
specific
tem
meeting.
or other, actually, it's the mayor pro tem.
But if I'm absent as well, it would be another.
The whole process is spelled out in the local government code.
Right.
If the mayor's not here, the mayor pro tem automatically takes the chair. If the mayor pro tem is not present as well, then the council would have a vote to choose a chair. That's how that works.
But this was what it's been since 2012, is that what you said? So nothing's been changed?
Well, it would be a good opportunity to clarify it now. Clarification's always a good idea.
I speak for myself that when I read it and I looked at it, I didn't read it the way that you're interpreting it. I just took it as what the local government code says, you chair, unless you're absent, then I would, then if I'm absent, another one would be designated, so
But
it
it
makes
doesn't say
sense.
any of that in here.
It's exactly
It
how I read
merely
it.
says the mayor will chair official meetings of the city council unless the mayor pro tem or another council member is designated as chair of a specific meeting.
And I think they'd only be designated if you were absent and the mayor pro tem was absent.
Then maybe at the end of this is per state statute. And that gives clarification. That's all you need to put
Right,
in.
I mean, 14 years, this hasn't been, come up one time, but I
It just gives clarification. Doesn't change anything, but other than give clarification.
Someone else will make it, because I don't read it that way, so, as an English teacher, so someone else can make that change if they want to.
Is there a hesitancy put in per state statute? 3 words. Council? It's leaving the barn door open.
Mayor Halsey, I'd like to make a
Council.
motion, sir.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 003-2026, amending the council relations policy and public meeting appearance card.
Motion is made to approve resolution number 003-2026. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Wait, can we have a discussion? So what does this mean we're doing? We're approving his reconsideration, or we're going back to what we originally said?
We're just reapproving what we already approved.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we're not
you're
editing.
approving this, you're not making any changes.
I'm in agreement with Tanya. I think the verbiage is clear that, because even when it says somebody will be appointed, the only one that can appoint would be the chair, which is the mayor. So it's very clear that he has the chair
Okay.
unless he's not present.
and
I'm
we
just
all-
making sure that we understand what we're doing, that's all.
And we all know that unless you're gone, Ms. Morrow is going to lead it. We know she's not just going to lead it right now. We can't kick you off the stage, and, so we know that. That's not.
Or I'd clarify whoever the mayor pro tem is. If this had been changed, that we changed it to this, then I would be more open to maybe clarifying, but it wasn't changed since 2012 or 2014, I can't remember. So I think it's been working very well, and when I understand what you're saying, when you read it, that you see it that way, and I see it as what the local government code intends. I don't see it as trying to be usurping of any powers.
Call the
Very
question.
good.
Call the question.
Question's been called. Is there a second to the call? That means you're ending discussion. You got a second, and then you vote on that.
I'll second the call.
It's been motioned and seconded to call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. It's motion and seconded, motion on the floor to approve Resolution 003-2026 with no changes. All in favor? It's unanimous. Means you didn't make any changes, Doug. Reconsideration of Resolution 004-2026, adopting the City of Haslet organizational chart. Council, this clearly reflects a city manager council form of organizational chart. Is that what the intent is here?
I would say no, since we don't have that type of form of government.
Mr. Page, you help with this organizational chart? Yes. So what was that? Was that this looks like all the city manager council form of government organizational charts I've ever seen.
So we have the city administrator leading the day-to-day duties of administration of the city, which was adopted via ordinance. And so this just kind of creates a visual representation of the duties and powers that the city council has already granted the office of city administrator.
Yeah, so the mayor does not have any?
No, that's not correct. You still have all, like I've said before, all the statutory powers outlined in state
Yeah.
law. So you're still up there, separate and apart from the governing body, with those powers as the mayor.
Do we not have budget officer on here? We should.
Like in parentheses, under mayor, put budget officer.
Is it that important?
No, is that what you're,
Yeah, it's important to have a
Okay.
budget officer.
No, but is that important?
turn your mic on.
It's important to have a budget officer and shown in the structure of the city. This is
Okay.
your organization.
Are you okay with, are you okay with it being the Haslet citizens on top and then mayor, governing body, and advisory boards all parallel underneath that?
I'm not in agreement at all with the structure of this organizational chart. I'm just noting things out, that this is reflective of a city manager style of government,
If you were to
and
change,
that budget officer has been omitted. I'll make a note that with regard to the budget officer, the finance director should be working with the budget officer. They work day and day, in and out. That's the treasurer and the finance director.
so if you were to, if the green was to change, would Haslet citizens be first?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And
They're
then-
always first.
And then, are you okay with the mayor and governing body being on the same level? With the advisory boards, commissions, and committees, I guess as all volunteer or elected official, well, left
It
side
would
elected?
be well that the city administrator report to the mayor on a daily basis.
Okay, so
That's
the
not how it
issue is
works.
not the green, it's the blue?
Well, it's it's the green and the blue structure.
Okay, so what would you change to the green and the blue structure?
Well, the governing body is inclusive of the mayor. The governing body is the 5 council people, or that's the city council. The governing body is the city council plus the mayor.
Okay, so clarify
So-
governing body to city council?
No, it's the governing body.
You just said.
And so then,
Mr.
I will
Mayor
finish
Halsey,
my description if
Okay,
you let me.
I have one question, though. You said the governing body was the city council and the mayor put together.
Yes.
So I was thinking that's repetitive with mayor and governing body together, so it should say mayor and then city council. So it's pulled out.
Well,
You're saying take out mayor and leave governing body altogether since it's inclusive?
no, I didn't say that.
I
Listen.
know you didn't. I'm trying to
I
understand what
didn't
you're
say
saying.
that. Is that the governing, the mayor, and I guess you could have / budget officer,
Right.
and the finance director should be under the mayor, the budget officer.
Right.
Because
Say
the
that again. Mayor
Budget
/
officer
budget.
works directly day in, day out with that finance director.
So we'll just put budget officer in your little green little box up here.
Yeah.
That'll make you happy.
Well, and my question was the governing body, so what? And change governing body to city council?
That wouldn't be appropriate.
Then tell me what would be appropriate, please.
You can leave governing body there.
Leave governing body.
Yeah. But the mayor will be mayor / budget officer,
Okay, on the left side, okay.
and the finance director reports to the budget officer. The budget
No.
officer monitors that budget consistently.
So I see finance here under administrative services.
The administrator is not the budget
No,
officer.
administrative services in
Over
purple.
here, purple.
No, I see it.
Well, the city administrator does not report to you.
Well, I'm saying pull the finance director out from there. The city administrator does not administrate the budget.
Sir, but she can still communicate with you and still answer to the city administrator, so that shouldn't be an issue for
That sounds
communication.
non-productive.
She has a dotted line to you in corporate speak, not a direct line, not a solid line to you. Which means she communicates with you, but she still reports to her boss, which is the city administrator.
Well, her boss would be the budget officer.
To you.
Evidently, the council here that hasn't got experiencer that fails to see the relationship between the finance director and budget officer.
Right, I'm pulling, okay, I did go back and look, and I found the organizational chart presented on March 20th of 2023. I'll put that down. I have the big version right here, but the only thing I noticed that was really different was, and it was presented by you, Mayor Halsey, was city council was above the mayor, but this one where the city council is even. And it doesn't say budget officer anywhere on this one. I think I have enough copies. Do we? And I didn't see budget officer anywhere on this one as well. I do see, finance, I don't see finance either. So I was trying to kind of marry the two and look at them together and see what was on one that was not on the other, and then wanted to hear kind of what your concerns were with the current organizational chart.
This was not the, this is an early version. That's not what was out there that this is replacing.
Okay.
So this is, this is not anything to compare to.
It says it was presented by you on March 20th, 2023.
Yeah, it is just presented. It's not what's in effect.
Okay.
Would there be any issues with Mr. Page in putting budget officer underneath the mayor, so that clarification is there, because the local government code?
No, yeah, I mean,
Asserts
again,
that.
those powers, this organization chart does not take away any of the statutory powers.
Right,
So if you
that's
want
what
to make them explicit, put them explicitly on here, certainly can.
That might be a good idea, just to put the actual statute, or what, so we're not trying to take anything away. But definitely add budget officer underneath the mayor, I think is a good clarification.
And finance works hand in hand with the budget officer.
I see it as the city administrator is the head of the staff. All staff. If you want a dotted line from the finance director to you because y'all work together, that's fine. But ultimately, everything is under the city administrator for staff.
Well, it's inappropriate. It's incorrect. Structure of it's incorrect.
Well,
The functional structure of this is incorrect.
Well, the functional structure, Director of Finance is a staff position. I think that's in agreement there. Was
The
utility-
finance director is an officer of the city appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. That's state statute. So they're not just a staff person. They are an officer of the city. And if you'll read further, all officers are subordinate to the executive officer. That's in the state statute. So it's in accordance with state statute. And it's not out of line, and it's functionally correct.
So we're saying treasurer and finance director are the same
Yes, I think
person?
last month y'all passed an ordinance that sets, that you designated the finance director as the treasurer.
Update to an existing ordinance that already.
Yeah, and
appointed.
it already had
Yeah.
appointed the
It was
finance
just
director as
clarifying her
treasurer.
duties.
So that functionally, the finance director and the budget officer worked together very often.
Right, it says 22.075, the treasurer shall perform acts and duties as the governing body requires.
That's inclusive of the mayor.
Right, that's why I was asking
Yeah.
about changing that verbiage, but
Yeah.
You said to leave it governing body, so I'm good with that.
Mayor Halsey, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 004-2026, adopting the City of Haslet organizational chart with the amendment of the mayor's position, also stating budget officer.
Is that inclusive of the finance officer?
Just how I stated it, sir.
Motion is made to approve the Resolution 004-2026, noting that the mayor shall be cited as the budget officer also. Is there a second?
Yes, Mayor, I'll second that.
There is a second. All in favor? It's unanimous. Nine F, reconsideration of Resolution 005-2026, directing the city administrator to comply with all state requirements relating to the City of Haslet fiscal year 25-26 adopted budget, to include filing the adopted budget and all pertinent amendments with the Office of the City Secretary and the Tarrant County Clerk, and posting the adopted budget and all pertinent amendments to the city's website. Again, in my statement of objections, I drew your attention to the Local Government Code 102, and this describes the budgeting and filing process for a general law municipality. Nowhere is the city administrator mentioned. And the appointed administrator that we have is illegitimate at this time with regard to the state statutes. Well, it's not funny. It's not funny. It is that, I don't know that you've even read it, that you cannot assign a city manager's duties, is what this appointment has done, to someone that you cannot give duties to someone where the code has already defined those duties, and define those duties to a city manager.
We don't have a
Mr.
city manager form of government.
I know you don't
Right,
have
so-
that, that's why you can't do that.
Mr. Mayor, why are you so against filing the budget? That's why we,
No, I'm
that's why
not
we did
against
this
filing the
resolution.
budget, but there
Because
is a
your budget
process.
should have been filed back in
Are you
August or
familiar,
September.
have you read Local Government Code 102? Have you read it?
Yes, I've read it.
Have you
But
studied it?
my point is, you were supposed to have posted this budget months and months and months ago.
Did you read the previous objection that said, go read the process?
Can you answer why you haven't posted the budget?
It is posted.
It is
No, the
now,
adopt-
because
well,
we
it is now,
did
but-
it. Why didn't you do it before that? For
It
months.
was I believe the finance director or city secretaries, it was written in the ordinance that you approved back when you adopted the budget. as
In
to-
August?
Yes, in August.
But
as
it
to who
hadn't been
posted.
posted until a couple weeks
Well,
ago.
then, that was the city, I believe it cited city secretary or finance director. I believe it was city secretary.
We didn't-
Explicitly, Mr. Page is agreeing.
Yeah, so the ordinance is gonna have just, normal language directing the city secretary to post it, and that was in the ordinance.
The acting city secretary at that time? The acting?
Yes, whoever was acting at that time.
And that's to fulfill the requirements under 102.008, which says, on final approval of the budget by the governing body shall file the budget with the municipal clerk and make sure that it's posted on the internet website. So that was,
Well, it's interesting they use the word approval and adopted. The portion you're talking about is the adopted budget. That's when you come out of, a budget workshop and, okay.
You
You
mean-
adopt a budget, and you did that, I believe, in August.
Did we?
Yeah.
Because I remember us spending 8 hours at a budget workshop. And then the very next time we had a council meeting, that was not the budget that was presented. You presented your own version of the budget, not the budget we came out of the workshop with.
Finance director.
And then you had everybody, all your friends,
that's not
line
true.
up. Yeah, it is absolutely
No, it's
true.
not true.
It is absolutely
You'd have to
true.
produce that document.
And then you had all your friends line up and start yelling at us and telling us that we're doing all these bad things because we wanted a
My
different
friends,
budget
the
than
only
what
one
you
I
did.
had, between the finance director and I, were pointing out what the consequences of your decisions and how much, and we'll be confronted with it this coming budget year, is how high we have to raise the property tax.
At the budget workshop, you had a $2.3 million line item budget for a
Right.
community garden.
Right.
We took that out during the budget
Right.
workshop. You suggested we put in $2 million
So,
to cover
let me,
for, no, hold on, please
No,
let me
well,
finish.
bring your
Please,
attention
please let
back
me finish.
to this item.
Please let me finish.
Is that part
You
of
said
this
something.
item?
Yes. You said something about a budget workshop, so I'm coming back to that. We wasted 8 hours at a budget workshop, drug all of the directors of all of our departments in there to go through this whole huge workshop for you to come back and throw all that down the drain and put out your own version of the budget and put back in the $2.3 million for your community garden that we had already said we were not going to do.
Ms. Lamb, did that happen?
It absolutely happened.
Did that happen?
That
It
did happen.
absolutely happened.
That did happen.
It absolutely happened.
We had to make them like about
And then
five
we
or
had
six
to, we all had to
amendments.
sit up here, we all had to
Okay.
sit up here line by line and go back through the budget that we had already done in the 8-hour workshop at the beginning of August that you failed to bring forward to the council meetings.
Well, if I did, must have been appropriate.
Mr. Page,
No,
I'd
that
like
is-
to ask you
that
a
is
question if I
you-
could, please.
So,
You're not taking responsibility for the actions that you did.
well,
Don't know what you're
The-
doing.
I'll take responsibility for what actions I did.
You just tried to deflect it.
I'm not trying to deflect it. I don't recall that specifically,
That's interesting.
but if I did that,
You
I
absolutely did
will
that.
do that. I will own it.
You absolutely did
I will
that.
own it. Thank you.
Mr.
Okay.
Page, I'd like to ask you a question if I
So
could,
I would
please.
like to bring your attention back to the agenda item.
Thank you, that's where I'm headed. Thanks, for that,
Please,
Mayor.
go ahead.
Back when we passed the resolution number 005-2026, finally adopted budget, I think we did ask, specifically, are we in our rights, are we doing the right thing by passing that resolution? And at the time, it was, we are. And so was that resolution, there's nothing wrong with local government codes, state statutes, or anything that was presented back in that meeting based on our actions on what we did.
So you're saying you passing the budget by
Mayor, that's a question for the attorney.
I'm just clarifying your question.
He
Can you
understands my question. He doesn't need your clarification. Sir, let our attorney, he's our attorney, please let him answer the question. Thank you very much.
So under 102.08, once the budget is approved by the governing body then has the requirement to file the budget with the municipal clerk, as well as post it on an internet website. And so just like we did in that initial ordinance last fall, directing the city secretary to post it as necessary with both the county clerk and on our online website, this is simply giving further direction to the city administrator to fulfill the city's obligations under Chapter 102 of the local government code relating to the posting of the budget.
Yes, and I think at the time, back on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, our city administrator, Joe Ashton, sent you an email asking you, if you would post a budget as needed on the various sites. And then again on Wednesday, the 11th, March 11th, a second email was sent to you, and there was still no action done. And that led to us passing the resolution that we did to get our budget posted where it was needed.
Well, correct. I'm just going to go back to the original ordinance that adopted the budget back in August. What did the ordinance read? Do you have that with you?
I don't believe it's in this.
I believe it might have been section 3. It gave instruction to post the budget. To who?
Ordinance 014-2025. Section 3, the city council shall file or cause to be filed a true and correct copy of this ordinance along with the approved budget with the city secretary, and the city secretary shall file or cause to be filed a true and correct copy of this ordinance along with the approved budgets, any amendments thereto with the county clerks of Tarrant and Denton counties as required by state law. So again, that was part of the original ordinance directing staff to do that.
That was the budget you adopted by ordinance 014-2025 on August 18th.
With the amendments that were made, and there were
So-
quite a
so-
few amendments.
Yes, you had quite a few amendments.
And that was the
And so-
proposed budget, and it was
so-
never, I'm sorry,
so
Mayor
where's
Halsey,
my
Mayor
failure?
Halsey, may I finish? So that was the proposed budget that we brought on, with the amendments on the August 18th meeting, and then that was the proposed budget, and it was never adopted and never posted. And that's what we did recently, was finally get the adopted budget.
The mayor brings a proposed budget, or the budget officer does.
Right, and then-
you adopt, you go
Well, we
through a
make,
workshop.
we make amendments. Mm-hmm.
And that's what you did on August 18th.
And then that was never posted, the adopted budget.
And why the city secretary didn't do that, I don't know.
You,
You're the budget officer.
You were in charge of it
For
back
8
then.
months.
So,
So now you're blaming her.
I'm not, what happened on that gap, I don't know.
You were in charge of the staff. That's your responsibility.
okay, so are we, that's my question, I guess, for this agenda item. You have no issue approving and posting the agenda, correct?
You mean the budget?
The budget, sorry, you want to file our budget, we want to make sure that we're doing it correctly, and it just has to be,
Well, I do not agree with the budget
what
at all.
part of the budget?
Most everything you did.
Well,
Every
that's-
amendment you did.
That's okay for you. You don't have to agree with it. We approved it.
Well, yeah, you adopted it,
Yep.
Correct,
So
now
then
it's
it has to be
official.
posted.
Correct.
and it's posted.
It wasn't
I didn't-
until.
Right,
Okay.
it-
Fine.
Just
but
That's
you're-
what we're
but-
trying to get to.
But this
It has
objection
been
is for us
6 or
not
8
to post
months.
it, correct? This objection is for us not to post it.
This
Yeah, I
ob-
finally found it, so it was
This
the.
objection is with regard to the city administrator.
So you just really don't want him to
posting
do it. But you don't want to do
But
it
he,
either.
he didn't do it. It was posted by, I believe, Ms. Lamb.
But you don't want to do it either.
And it was submitted to Tarrant County by Ms. Lamb.
Okay, so that's,
Okay,
so
so
what
we're
is the
done.
objection? I guess I'm confused on what the objection is.
The city administrator doing it.
Well, you're
Okay.
not going to do
Okay,
it.
so
So
it's
you
already-
we
Just back
have
to the city
somebody got to do
administrator.
it. You've not done it in 8 months, and if you're not going to do it, we have to have somebody do it.
He just doesn't want the city administrator. That's all.
Well,
It's what everything keeps coming
well,
back to.
and the budget that you put forth.
You said
Well,
that any
we
formal
approved it.
changes
We
needed to be
adopted it.
made.
We
to-
approved it with you on August 18th.
But that's not what was presented to
But
us.
also, I'll say this, there is no statutory requirement when it gets submitted to Tarrant County
Okay,
clerk.
that's fine. So on August 18th, you said to make any formal changes, it had to be formalized in a vote. Any changes we made in that motion, we had to vote on it. So council voted on every one of the changes. There were no changes in the wording of the ordinance. And then we went through and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think we did 10 budget amendments. Or it might not be that many. We had a lot to talk about that day. So then once that was made a motion, voted on, approved, it should have been posted, correct, as the proposed budget, adopted
Yes.
budget?
You have a budget.
And when
With
did
the
we adopt
changes?
it?
Okay.
When did we adopt it?
The first one was August 18th, and the very last one was here March 30th.
Okay, so when we adopted it, what we did in March, was amending the budget, correct?
We took
That
out
was-
that.
that was
what
not
money-
adopting a new budget.
That placeholder of that 200
These
million,
were,
we took it
these
out.
were amended, but the budget was not being able to be amended because evidently no one here understands. You cannot perform an amendment to the budget with a vote. It has to be by ordinance. So all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these amendments that were made had to be by ordinance.
And we hadn't done that ever. That was all the amendments that you'd brought to us to change that had not been done by ordinance previously. So that was something that you told us that moving forward, we would go by ordinance, but we didn't have to go back and grandfather that in. Right? Am I remembering that
Grandfather.
correctly?
I mean, that law is in existence for many
And we've
decades.
never used it, because you brought it up and said that moving forward, it needs to be done by ordinance. And we all
Correct.
agreed that that was,
So-
if that was
But it-
correct, that's what we would do.
And
your-
Mr. Page understands this, the technicality of it.
But your objection is the city administrator. When we first approved the budget was August, we didn't have a city administrator.
What about it?
So now you're protesting based on the city administrator that you don't want him to post the budget. When we approved the budget, we didn't have a city administrator. That was back in August, which would have been your responsibility. And all this time, you didn't do it. So when we got a city administrator and he brought it to our attention and Doug brought it to our attention and Jeremy brought it to our attention, then we realized that you were not doing your duty to do
Well,
that, and you were not directing the
No,
staff
I was not
as you had
pressing to have
Can I
it
please finish?
posted.
Can I
Let him
please finish?
Because.
Can I please finish?
Sure, finish.
Thank you. You were not doing your duty to direct the staff to post the budget as you were supposed to have done. And so we directed the staff to do the job that you did not do. And that was before we had a city administrator that you should have done that.
There
Mayor, I'd like
were,
to make a
since August 18th, there were more than 10 action items on separate dates, spanned all the way out to March 2nd of 2026, for you to get, this council to get to an adopted budget. And knowing that, wasn't going to post a adopted budget because you still had changes, and it was probably one or more a month.
So on that rationale, since it's been adopted, it's been posted, there's no more amendments allowed until, since it's now posted on the website and filed, we cannot make any changes to the budget moving
No,
forward.
yes, you can.
Oh, so we can?
So we can. So
Oh, yeah.
that's the
You
whole
can make
point. You can make,
the state statutes in 102 cite how you make those changes. If
Okay,
you're
then I don't
moving-
understand your argument that we made changes and it couldn't be posted.
Aren't we not supposed to post the agenda back in
Or budget.
August?
I said I
Budget.
wasn't going to have a budget that's going to be amended and 10 other times that we knew of,
Well, that you're supposed to post it, and then you make amendments all throughout the year.
and repost it 10 different times.
the city budget
You
is a
submit
working
it to
document.
Tarrant
repost.
County 10 different times. You've never done a budget.
I don't think you have either. That
Oh,
sure
no,
sounds
I've
like
done
it.
it quite often.
Well, that's why we're in this mess.
My understanding is the city
We've
budget
never
is a
been in
working
this
document
situation
that
except
can be
with this
changed.
council in the existence of Haslet, Texas.
In my understanding, and Jeremy, please correct me, Mr. Page, please correct me if I'm wrong. The city budget, any city budget, is a working document that can be changed by actions of the council at every council meeting if needed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, that's true. It's not good practice.
It-
What's good practice and what
It
you
may
can
not be
do is
good
two
practice, it's the
different
law.
things.
It's the law. So
All
I
right.
make a motion that we approve resolution 005-2026, directing the city administrator to comply with all state requirements relating to the city of Haslet fiscal year 2025-2026 adopted budget, to include filing the adopted budget and all pertinent amendments with the office of the secretary, city secretary, and the Tarrant County clerk, and posting the adopted budget and all pertinent amendments on the city's website.
Motion is made to approve Resolution 005, 2026. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did you raise your hand? Thank you. Nine G, reconsideration of ordinance 006, 2026, ratifying various budget amendments to the city's fiscal year 2025, 2026, as adopted by ordinance 14-2026. There again, this goes to the aspect, a budget amendment, a budget does not get amended by a motion and a vote. It gets amended by an by a document of, or I'll say it, the word is order, of like dignity. That's the word, is like dignity. So if it's adopted by an ordinance, it can only be amended by an ordinance. But what we've done here, and the city attorneys helped argue that, well, we did all these amendments in the past by vote and motion, and we're just going to reconcile all of that into one ordinance. Well, none of those amendments were effective at the time that you did it.
You said they had to be adopted budget, but you said the budget wasn't adopted, so.
It was adopted on the 18th of August.
It was
You adopted
proposed.
it.
It was not adopted.
No, the budget officer, you walked into that budget workshop with the mayor's proposed
And that's what was
budget.
on the website for 7 months, was the proposed?
No,
Yes.
the adopted.
That one just got put on, the adopted budget.
The adopted budget is what you came out of the workshop with.
it didn't get
on
post-
August 18th.
Correct, but it didn't get posted until recently. It was only the proposed budget on our website.
But nonetheless, you adopted a budget
So
August 18th.
how many other, when you brought this to our attention, you said that moving forward, this is good practice, and that we would go make amendments with the ordinance?
Well, I had to remind you or bring it to your attention because evidently no one here knew it.
Well, so how many budget amendments, hundreds, thousands, are going to have to go back and be, we do all that
Well,
ordinance, all of
I'm
them, or all
addressing
of them
the
are?
one in front of us right now.
But by doing that one, that opens the door to how many?
None, because all of those are closed. You have one budget right now, it's the 25-26 budget you're dealing with.
That's, okay, it's just the opposite of what you told us earlier when you brought it to us.
I don't think so. You're in the mind that you don't want to correct anything, and that everything you did was correct.
I'm-
But the budget was not
Excuse me.
approved.
That's me? You're talking about
Excuse
me? I'm in that
not-
mind?
The budget was not
Me?
approved
Or all
by
of us?
motion or vote. So to go back and try to reconcile all that with a later ordinance, at the time when a ordinance is passed, if you adopted the budget by ordinance, it can only be changed with an ordinance.
So on 8/18, quote, 2805 Gary Halsey, formal changes to the budget have to be done in a vote, so that wasn't brought up then. At 5431, any changes you make for any motion, you have to vote on it. Council will vote on each one, and then no changes in the
For
wording of
each-
the ordinance.
For each change within the budget.
Correct.
The vote doesn't change the adopted budget.
Excuse me, Mr. Page, can I ask
So
you a
the
question,
items
sir?
that were changed, the line items were voted on singularly.
Yes, Mr. Page, when we adopted ordinance 006-2026, did we do everything according to state law and state statute?
Yes, this is considering the facts of what occurred where the council had previously made motions and voted on changes to the budget. They were not papered up in an ordinance at the time. However, the funds were, to my knowledge, expended in the way that the council deemed appropriate at that time. That therefore the budget had been amended because funds were dispersed in accordance with that amendment. And so this is simply ratifying that. So again, considering the facts and the situation, this is the best way to move forward to comply with our state law requirements.
And that is, again, against another part of the state statute. Once you approve, or you'll have an adopted budget, an approved budget. There is a difference between adopted and approved budgets. And that it states in there, you'll recognize the words, you can only spend in strict compliance with that budget.
Correct. And that's
So
why this is a
your previous
ratification.
statement that you amended something by a vote, which didn't amend anything, and you spent with that vote, that wasn't a correct way to amend that budget, and you know that.
And so that's why we're doing a ratification.
And the ratification doesn't correct that.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 006-2026, ratifying various budget amendments to the city's fiscal year 2025-2026 budget as adopted by ordinance 014-2025.
Motion is made to approve ordinance 006-2026. Is there a second?
I'll second
There's a
that.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Mr. Page, one question related to
Executive
these
session.
items.
I have no need for executive session. Let's go to future agenda items. You have two listed. Ordinance amending personnel policies and a special called meeting for the canvass the vote on May 12th. Any questions or additions here? All right.
Yes, I had one.
Yes.
So I saw that we have a Memorial Day celebration. It's 5C, it was listed today. And I went back and looked on April, so it's been it's right at a year tomorrow. We had been presented with a Memorial Day or a Veterans Park or community park. They were doing some updates, and is there any type of, we can get information on that? It's been over a year since
We'll
that has
have,
been.
we'll put that on the update for the next council
Okay,
meeting.
thank
But to
you.
give you a brief, just a brief on it, the designs, the engineering designs are complete, and Mr. Tucker has it out for bid.
Okay, it's out for bid. I just know it's been a year, so I was
It's out
wanting an
for
update
bid.
for that. Thank you.
Hey, one thing, and I apologize, everybody, for dragging this out, but I completely missed it on the updates earlier. I did want to thank Mr. James Tucker for getting the park bench for the new pavilion down there. We were down there Saturday, and we got a lot of compliments from people actually using it, from Parks Board members. I really like the new design, the new shape of it, so you did a great job with that. We really appreciate you. Park Board appreciates what you did for that. Thank you very much.
Very good. All right. Time is 9:32 p.m. This meeting's adjourned.
This conference is no longer being recorded.